I sat down in a restaurant in Kansas City where I used to live. About 2 tables over, a guy kept looking at me. I didn't recognize this gent. He stood up. The guy walked over to my table. He pointed at me and he said, "You're Captain Plumb." I looked up and I said, "Yes, sir, I'm Captain Plumb." "You're that guy. You flew jet fighters in Vietnam. You're a fighter pilot. Part of that Top Gun outfit, shot down off the aircraft carrier Kitty Hawk. You parachuted into enemy hands. You spent 6 years as a prisoner of war." Somewhat dumbfounded, I looked up at this guy and I said, "How in the world did you know all that?" He finally broke into a smile and he said, "Because I packed your parachute." Tell you this, for this guy that runs around the country making speeches, suddenly I was speechless. Best I could do was stagger to my feet, reach out a very grateful hand of thanks. He came up with just the proper words. The guy grabbed my hand, he pumped my arm, and he said, "I guess it worked." I said, "Indeed it did, my friend, and I must tell you, I've said a lot of prayers of thanks for your nimble fingers, but I had no idea I'd ever had the opportunity of expressing my gratitude in person." He said, "Were all the panels there?" I said, "No, I must be honest with you, they weren't. I'll never forget the opening shock of that parachute and counting the panels, and 3 were torn of the 18. I had 15 good panels, but it wasn't your fault, it was mine. I ejected from that F-4 Phantom at 600 knots close to the ground. I was well outside the envelope of that parachute. You did your job, I didn't do mine." I said, "But let me ask you a question. Do you keep track of all the parachutes you pack? Do you know of all the lives you've saved?" The guy said, "No." Now this is the most important part of the conversation that night, and it may be the most important thing I say to you this morning, and I think it deals directly with your core values of service excellence, of integrity, of team, of continuous improvement, of accountability, of fulfillment, of fun, and the one we added last night, GSD, get stuff done. I think what he said to me deals directly with being the best health provider in the world. Here's what he said. He said, "No, I don't keep track of all the parachutes I pack. It's enough gratification for me just to know that I've served." Here's a sailor well below the waterline of this aircraft carrier. His job is to stand at a long wooden table. He weaves the shrouds and he folds the silk panels of these parachutes, and he passes them along one after another, 8, 10, 12 hours a day, while the jet jockey, while the reason they built that aircraft carrier, the guy flying the airplane, the Top Gun, zooms around the sky at the speed of sound, and I couldn't have cared less about the guy down there in the hole. Until one day my parachute came along, and he packed mine up for me. Hey gang, isn't that what this business is all about? Packing parachutes for our patients, for each other, for our families. So the question becomes, how's your parachute packing coming along? Who is it that looks to you for strength in time of need? Maybe more importantly, how's your parachute packed? Who do you look to when the going is tough?